Hey everyone. Okay, today we're going to be discussing what to do with the market at the highs, especially as it pertains to Bitcoin, MSTY, and MST. All right, this is going to be an important theme for the next few weeks because, again, the market's at the highs and so is Bitcoin. Here's Navy, all right, short for Nav Drip, and there's DJ right here, okay? So we're going to be doing a three-part series on the market being at the highs. First, we're doing Bitcoin, and then we're going to be doing other Yieldmax names and Roundhill names while I have y'all on this 3-day weekend. Yieldmax and MSTY helped me earn over $740,000 in dividends. Okay, let's just call it 700,000 because you know that these fluctuate. And our performance shows that we're still beating all of the indexes for the year. Okay, we're up 0.54%. The S&P is down 2.8. The Nasdaq's down 5. The Dow's down 3. The Russell's down 9%. So we were up 3 to 4% last week, if y'all remember, and we've taken a hit in performance recently. That's because we've had small caps pull back and Bitcoin pull back just a little bit because we're at the highs. So it begs the question, what do we do with our account back at the highs and Bitcoin being back at the highs, especially when it comes to MSTY and MST? So the first thing that you need to be aware of when the market's at the highs is that you can start taking profits in some areas to manage risk, but then how do you still keep Bitcoin exposure on? Okay, so we're going to be talking about that today. That's the first thing we're going to discuss. We're going to discuss how to still keep Bitcoin exposure on safely, even though we're at the highs. All right, so Bitcoin, we only keep it 3 to 5%, and the rest of our portfolio helps us live financially free from a 9 to 5. If you need help doing the same, email me for my e-guides at akintod48@gmail.com. So the first thing that I'm going to discuss with y'all is the gloomier side. I feel it's the put side, and y'all shouldn't be daunted by puts. The thing is Bitcoin is at the highs, all right, as I'm trying to lay out in this graphic here. Okay, look at this chart, BTC at the highs. All right, so what do you do when Bitcoin's at the highs? Also, Maxi was at the highs, and so my members and I know that I was trading out of Maxi because it was at the highs. All right, so I was doing some creative things with the portfolio at that time last week. My members, again, we've been through this. If you ever want to see these trades, just go head over to my membership section on YouTube. So here we have these puts that I have, okay, these sold puts, and I feel like I'm doing the same thing as MicroStrategy. I'm using my debt to get ahead, okay? MicroStrategy uses bonds, he uses preferred shares to raise more money. And then, let me open the blinds for you guys, sorry. To raise more money, and then he's using Bitcoin to appreciate, obviously, and with that he keeps wiping out his debt because he gets new bondholders and preferred share users and stockholders in general. He gets those to then get more capital so he can buy more Bitcoin. It's a leverage strategy. And I'm doing the same thing here at my channel. I'm going to talk about this in another video at a future date, wiping away all of my debt with Bitcoin, just like Trump's talking about doing with the national debt, okay, using Bitcoin to pay down some debt. I'm using Bitcoin to pay down my debt, okay, and I'm doing it in the safest way. I'm doing it in a way that's safer than Michael Saylor, and I think safer than Trump and what everyone else is doing with Bitcoin personally. And again, that's because I'm selling these puts, which is the safest way to do anything. Okay, not only to play Bitcoin, but it's the safest way to do anything. So these BitX puts here lowered my margin by 20,000. This BitX put right here lowered my margin by 7,000. And we just added another tranche, another BitX put last week because when the market's down and things are down, that's when you sell puts to get more premium. So what I did was I sold some Maxi because it was at the highs, and then I just sold puts on BitX because BitX still gives you good performance, okay, even though it's a double leveraged Bitcoin vehicle. BitX still gives you nice performance. As you can see here, it made it pretty much back to the highs. So the decay there in this leverage vehicle is minimal, and that's, to me, the biggest risk. And if you're going to be playing Bitcoin, why not go 2 times as long as the decay isn't that bad in up and down markets? So with BitX, I sold these puts, lowered my margin by 30,000, 40,000 approximately. Okay, we have 20 here, 25, and then call it 30 on this one, just to be nice. 30,000. I had it lowered by much more than that, if y'all remember, in times past. And I could lower all of my debt and wipe out all of my debt with these Bitcoin puts, because when I sell these puts, it not only gives me these premiums to live free from 9 to 5, but it also lowers my risk because I'm controlling BitX at much lower prices than everyone else, right? As you know, if you look at the strike prices that I have plus the premiums, we're controlling these at way lower prices than everyone else, okay? If you need help selling options like I do to lower your margin, that's in my volume 6 e-guide. So that's the first thing that I'm doing with Bitcoin, okay? Do these 3 things at the highs. When Bitcoin's at the highs, MSTY and MST will follow suit. And so with BitX, I just sell these puts to get some easy exposure to Bitcoin without the risk, and it wipes my debt away at the same time. I would do more, but the thing about Bitcoin is that it's high maintenance. Now, one reason why we chose MSTY and MST is because they give dividends, and MicroStrategy gives you more leverage to Bitcoin than Bitcoin does, because MicroStrategy is a stock, it has earnings, and also they have a leveraged Bitcoin approach. So they're going to beat Bitcoin, obviously, if Bitcoin's going up. But MST still has 50% maintenance. MSTY has 100% maintenance, as y'all know, at E-Trade. And this is the whole key to living the FIRE lifestyle. If you need help understanding maintenance, that's in my volume 3 e-guide. So MSTY is 100% maintenance. MST is 100% maintenance. 50% maintenance, I apologize. And BitX is also 100% maintenance. All right, but if we get a sign in BitX, we're getting a sign with that nice dividend yield. It has a really nice dividend still. It's 2 times what Bitcoin does. It doesn't show the percentage here, but we know that it's a nice yield, around 20 to 30%, something like that. They fluctuate, obviously. So we're going to get a sign at the lows in BitX if Bitcoin were to fall, which a lot of people think that, it's just not going to happen this time around because the halving is beginning and the supply is shrinking, and this is the beginning of a next wave up. I mean, again, look at the highs here of BitX. You would think that Bitcoin is due for a pullback because just every time we reach these highs on an all-time chart, for the last 3 cycles, it's pretty much reached this high. Okay, I wish I could pull that up for you. And so you would think that we're due for the pullback now. And it doesn't really matter what we think. You just have to be prudent and do the right things at the highs every time the market reaches the highs, anytime an asset class reaches the highs. Okay, so here we have these highs here once again, and we're back at those highs. And that begs the question, are we due for a pullback? Well, we could go higher, so we still have exposure through MSTY. All right, we still have exposure to go up with Bitcoin through MST, but you have to watch your maintenance because it's sucking up half of your equity. BitX is sucking up 100% of your equity. MST is sucking up half of your equity, which helps you preserve more equity, obviously, and live free from 9 to 5, because you want to be able to pay your bills. If you're new to this channel, if you're just joining this live, for every $1 you put in your account, you get $4 of purchasing power. I'm just using a small amount of this over $4 million in purchasing power to get ahead. It only shows $1 million because I'm invested in many things. My margin debt is around $400,000, so that shows that I'm invested in many things. My account is fully invested, plus I'm in margin. My debt I'm not worried about, by the way, because I've negotiated my rates down twice. I'm not worried about this leverage because my dividends just pay it back within the year. So not really worried about anything that I'm doing as far as margin goes with this strategy, but I still want to be able to withdraw out of my account, okay, and pay my bills and still outperform the market, in the process. So in order to pay our bills, we have to keep high available withdrawal. All right, so 230,000, that means I have a large cushion between me and a margin call, but we're never worried about margin calls anymore because I've used my triple C's method, to delever on the downside, never even worry about margin, and then still bounce back harder than the indexes. And that's in my volume 7 e-guide, my latest e-guide, if you're interested in how I beat the markets going down and going up without worrying about a margin call, okay? But nonetheless, if you're not using margin or if you're not familiar with any of these techniques, you still want to keep high available withdrawal just so that you can pay your bills and live freely out of your account. Or if you want to sell more puts against things in your account, because I think selling puts, again, is the safest way to do anything. Look at how Warren Buffett sells puts on Coca-Cola. Safest, most conservative strategy you can use, and you want to use your equity in your account. To do that, you have to use your equity, but you want to do it safely. And again, you have to watch your maintenance in order to do that. And that's in volume 3, again, if you need help with maintenance. All right, so that's the first thing we did was we sold puts. Even though you want to sell puts at market lows, I'm selling them at highs because I already dumped Maxi and Bitto. They already reached their highs. They have 100% maintenance. I raised equity in doing that. And then I sold puts on Bitcoin, okay? We have other imposter channels trying to do what I do, okay? They're trying to use Cornerstone and Margin and use the same format that I use with my videos, but no one will ever be able to recreate what we do here at this channel. When you buy my e-guides, you get free access to Discord for life, which is a Discord chat room that we started. No one else is going to be able to recreate this kind of Discord chat room. It's the best financial chat room in the world. We have over 2,000 members here pursuing the FIRE lifestyle. We also have a crypto channel here. We have a Cornerstone channel, all things margin related, you name it, okay? We have everything here, a Yieldmax channel, Defiance, Rec Shares. All these you can see here. My window is blocking it, my camera, but you can see all the different channels here. And so it's just a plethora of there are a plethora of channels, and it's a wealth of information. All right, so visit our Discord chat room at any time. Again, that's all free. My phone number and Discord is free when you buy my e-guides. All right, so it's a great value. I charge way too little for my e-guides, and then I give you Discord and my number for life. All right, and I'm always here for my members. Ask any of them. They can also text me anytime they need that script to negotiate rates down. I'm always here for them. All right, so the first thing we did, once again, did those puts. And I explained why I sold puts at the highs. I still wanted exposure to Bitcoin, but in a safe way. I could also wipe out all of my debt. Okay, if you're just now tuning into this video, check out the beginning of this video and see what I'm doing there. I think it's better than Trump's strategy and even better than Michael Saylor's strategy. Okay, you sell puts to lower your debt. You don't, use Bitcoin because that's so volatile. Selling puts gives you a much bigger cushion to get ahead with and still get exposure to Bitcoin, but in a much safer way. All right, and that's in my Volume 6E guide again, if you need help with selling puts like I do. All right, the second thing that you want to do is, of course, hedge MSTY with winter. All right, we know that MSTR, we know that it's almost back at the highs because Bitcoin is. Obviously, MicroStrategy is a little bit off this spike here from the all-time highs, but this is the old range. So we're at the highs. We've broken the 20, but we're near the 50. So, there's some cause for there's a consolation prize there, okay? We've pulled back, but this could be a healthy pullback. We don't know. We never know what the market's going to do. So we just plan accordingly for both directions to live free out of our brokerage account or just to outperform in general with the market. So MSTR is at the highs. Okay, MSTY didn't quite make it back there, as you know, but that's because it gives out a dividend instead. It still had a nice run up back to this old range, but not back to the old highs. So there's the quote, excuse me, decay. But again, it's paying you a dividend this whole time. MST is going to have even more erosion because it's leveraged. So it was down 15%. On Friday. Just like we said, if you watch the Marcos interview that I did on his podcast, we talk more about the intricacies of MST and MSTY. So check out that video on Marcos's channel if you get a chance. Marcos Milla. We protect MSTY with winter because that also has a really nice dividend. You can hedge MSTY at the highs with that. All right, and that did really well for us during the recent correction. And then you take MST and you hedge MST with MSTZ, okay? It's the inverse MicroStrategy ETF. So 15% here, it was up, so that would hedge out MST, all right? And so that's how I'm mitigating my risk. Yeah, I've taken a little bit of a performance hit because Bitcoin just pulled back and the market is pulling back some. They're both going down in tandem. That's okay. But we're still outperforming all the indexes, and it's thanks to my hedges. If you want to see how I use my hedges in a total way in my portfolio, because I use all kinds of hedges. I buy put options, which were up 100% in one day. Recently, last week, it was about 75% about in one day. And I get some people detractors of my channel who say, oh, well, he never shows his options gains. You can see all that in my membership section, in my members only portfolio section. I use my put options. I use these inverse hedges. I use triple shorts. I do a myriad of things, and that's all in my Volume 5 guide, including how I box Cornerstone. The third thing that you want to do, speaking of Cornerstone, is you want to make sure that you're anchoring your Bitcoin plays with the indexes. And I'll give you Cornerstone, and I'll also give you SPYT. I'll give you a couple of anchors to use with your Bitcoin, but we know that Bitcoin has to stay at 3 to 5%. And so SPYT has been performing very well. A lot of members and I have been remarking on this fund. It has a 22% yield and it tracks the market pretty well. It hasn't made it back to those old highs though, so there is some decay, and that's why I like CRF, because SPYT is 50% maintenance, CRF is only 30% maintenance. It has a lot of room to run since it's just finishing its RO, and members of my channel know, and all the watchers of my channel know, that Cornerstone is the key to everything that I do because I anchor my portfolio with it. It's now my largest holding again. I do this because it has a 20% dividend like SPYT, but it's 30% maintenance instead of 50% maintenance. Plus, it's the only vehicle in the world that drips the 20% dividend, 19% right now, down at the NAV for free money every month. I say it's free money. It's maybe not the proper term, but you get a 13% gain every month with CLM, and with CRF, the premiums show that we're at 12.5%. Let's refresh that, 12.5%. So you're getting the 20% dividend and a 12.5% gain every month with Cornerstone. I don't get paid by Cornerstone, Defiance, or Yieldmax or anything. I'm just sharing what works with me. So this is the index, and you have to tie most of your investments to the indexes. Cornerstone is a 4-star fund, as you can see above, 4-star right here on Morningstar. So what's not to like with Cornerstone? To me, it's the best anchor, okay? So you have to spread your anchors out so that not one takes you down. But with Cornerstone, it's my biggest position, and that can all be found in my Volume 4 e-guide if you need help playing Cornerstone, because obviously you have to use a little finesse when it comes to playing Cornerstone, okay? It's the best fund in the world, all right? It's been around since the 80s, but you have to time it around its ROs. It's just now finishing the RO, but we sold right here at the highs. Perfect timing. How do we do that? Because we watch the proper premium levels, which is in my Volume 4 e-guide, and because we get the alert at Discord, okay? We get the Cornerstone rights offering announcement and the N2 filing here at Discord, so it tells you everything you need to know. And for members who can't use my Discord or they're more old-fashioned like me, you have my SMS text. You can upgrade to SMS anytime through the YouTube memberships. If you want to just get the Cornerstone rights offering announcement, all major developments in my portfolio, I'll alert you of in that SMS service as well. All right, so those are the three things, okay? We talked about wiping away our debt. That was at the beginning of the video. We talked about hedging, all right, and that was towards the middle of the video. And then we talked about anchoring Bitcoin with the indexes towards the end of the video. And I particularly like Cornerstone because of all of its benefits that I just laid out in this video. All right, that'll do it for this video. Okay, if you need more help doing what I'm doing, living financially free out of your brokerage account, email me for my e-guides at akintodd48@gmail.com. When you buy my e-guides, you get free Discord access for life and my phone number for life, so keep that in mind. All right, so we'll go ahead and end it there. Once again, I love you all. I'll try to do another video tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Enjoy your holiday weekend. Talk to you soon.